Hello, hello, hello. So let me ask you this. Are you tired of awkward silences and stumbling through conversations? Sick of feeling like your message gets lost in translation? Ready to up-level your communication skills like a boss? Well, you're in the right place. My name is Kathy Riley. I'm your host and communications expert with over 25 years in litigation and another 15 as an entrepreneur. Tune in as we serve up piping hot blends of tools, systems, techniques, things that are guaranteed to change the way you connect, change the way you communicate. So, from mastering the art of tough conversations to cultivating a mindset that screams confidence, we're here to help you. At Breaking Bad Communication, we're not just breaking bad habits. We're shattering communication barriers personally and professionally. So, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, especially as an introvert, but somebody who's also an entrepreneur, how do you go out there and navigate conversations when they're really uncomfortable? Like, how do you talk to people? How do you talk to your family, right? How do you like big family? I've got a big Catholic family. When we get together, it could be 60, 70, 80 people. How do you navigate talking to other people when you don't know what to say? I mean, I think that's the biggest thing for people is like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to ask. I don't know how to navigate that. So I'm going to arm you with some tools and some questions that you can just, write them down, put them on your phone, right? Put them in your notes, keep them in your back pocket. So these are tools. These questions are tools for you to navigate the next holiday, right? We have holidays all the time. We get together, birthdays, networking. If you're an entrepreneur and you go out networking, if you're always looking for clients, one of the things I noticed. So I'm an introvert and I navigated conversations not too well early on, but I met my husband, and that man, I call him Prince Charming. He's my Prince Charming. He can charm anyone, anywhere, anyhow. It doesn't matter. He's so good at talking to people and coming up with questions. And I remember when I was writing my book, I was asking him a lot of questions like, how do we navigate this? How do you do this? And he said very similar to what I'm about to share with you is just having a handful of questions that you always know you can ask. Always know you can ask. So let's get to it, shall we? So what are some of the questions you can ask? And depending on the situation. So let's think of like family gatherings. It's something so simple as, you'd say something like, what have you been up to? What's your highlight this week? What I like saying, what are your successes? What are you celebrating? What are you celebrating? Like, what's gone right? As humans, we love to talk about, we can do 99 things right, one thing wrong, and our brain will focus on the one thing wrong. So I love saying, what are you celebrating? What do you got going on? What's good? What's good? How's your world? Um, you can talk about travel. That is an excellent choice and topic. So, depending on the time of year, right? Have you done any traveling? Do you plan on doing any traveling? Going anywhere fun this summer? Going anywhere for the holidays? What's going on? Have you done any travel is a good one. Put that in the back pocket, right? Travel, family. So, how's the family? How's everybody doing? Um, navigating school, whether it's back to school, maybe it's college, maybe they're home from school because of the summer. What does that, how's the family? How's that handling? How are you doing with all of it, right? Asking how they are, going deeper in on that. We talk about work. It's like what's exciting going on in your business right now? What's exciting? Do you have any big goals for the last quarter, for the first quarter of the year? What are some projects that you're working on? Anything you can share with me? What's going on? And when it comes to business, I also like to ask, like, what's your biggest struggle right now? Like what's weighing on your heart the most right now, especially in business? And because I also love to be of service, maybe I know somebody that I can help them with, a connection that I could make, uh, some support I could offer. So I like asking that question. It's, I live in Colorado, and this one comes from my husband, and he's always like, "Well, are you a native?" This is a good question to ask people. Are you a native? Most of us aren't. I mean, every now and then we have a few that are, and it's like, "Oh, really? Where'd you grow up? Where's that?" Okay. So whether you are or aren't a native, is Colorado home, or is Ohio home, or where's home for you? And then do you have family out there? So you can go into that, their origin, and then the family. So that's kind of natural. Are all your family out here, or do you have family back there? How does that work? I like asking, like, so okay, you live over here, who's in your household? Like, instead of saying, do you have kids, or are you married, or whatever, because it can be complicated and you never know. So, and you could be living with your mother, who knows? So, who's under your roof? Who do you get to see? Are there any puppies? I like saying that. Are there any puppies? Because I love animals. You can ask those questions, like, okay, so think about their household. Think about origin, right? Where do they hail from? Think about household, what's going on with there. Then you can talk, if you learn about kids, you can ask about kids. Where are they going to school? Just think about some of the basics about everyday life. And these are questions, again, keep them in your back pocket. Um, Traveling or is always a good one. Where have you traveled? Are you going to travel? And then tell me a little bit more about that. Like, so, oh yeah, we've got a trip coming up. Where? Whereabouts? Oh, you're going to Italy? Where in Italy? That's a place I've always, dreamt of going. Is it here? Is it there? Right? So get them to ask questions, and you can learn more about them. And here's the thing that I will tell you. Um, Before we dive into more questions, is when you ask the questions, then listen. This is this is a great introverts know how to listen. Okay, but when you're nervous, you kind of forget. You sit there and think about, okay, what's the next question I'm going to ask? Um, but listen, because there's a chance that what they're saying is actually going to stem another question, because something pops up in your brain and you're like, oh, I'd like to know more about that, please. And you could even, that's a great question. I'd love to know more about that. Can you tell me more about that? Let's see some of the other things, especially with family. You talk about books. See any good books, or read any good books? See any movies? Watching any shows? Because those are joy, right? We love to binge stuff that fills our cup, right? It's our way of recharging. So what books are you reading? What book did you love? And tell me more about that. Uh, and when I love asking the question is when I know I'm talking to a reader, because I love reading. It's like, oh, so I have to know, are you paper or Kindle? Like, which one is it? Um, good questions. Um, Knowing that when they are sharing stuff and there's something that piques your interest, to say, oh, that is really cool. I'm curious about that. Tell me more. Like, where, the project that you're working on. Ooh, that sounds good. It's, located in a different city. So how are you navigating? Are you traveling back and forth? And then there are things that's like, oh, people love to talk about their problems. And so I also like to flip the switch on that. It's like, okay, I've, had this health issue, and I've done this, and we're dealing with this, and, mom and dad are sick and all of this. So navigating all of these health issues, well, you can get down into a negative spiral going down something there. So how do we bring it back up? And you can ask a question like, so what did you learn? Was there a lesson that you learned? What's your biggest takeaway from that? Like I mean, you overcame a lot. What was your biggest lesson? It's so good. And then you can ask things like, hobby, what do you do for fun? Okay, when you're not working or whatever, what do you do for fun? People do love to talk about themselves once they get warmed up. That's what us introverts, once we get warmed up, we'll talk. We become chatty Cathys, but we got to get warmed up first. So, what do you do for fun? So that's a good one. Let me think. Some standard ones that you can keep in your pocket. And when you think about family and business, it's like what's the next thing you've got going on? Like what's the next, whether it's a work project, what's your next project, right? Or what's your next, what's the end of the year looking like? What's the beginning of the year? Like what's the next thing you're working on? Is it anything fun? Can you tell me about it? You know? And then listening. Okay, knowing that they will continue to feed you information with the questions. So once you listen, oh, tell me more about that. Oh, that was so fun. And then you can integrate, your story so that you're on the same page. Oh, I traveled there. I haven't read this book, but you know what's a really good book? This is a good book. So when you navigate the conversation, you can make it continue, right? Listening allows you to draw the information out of them to ask the additional questions. And then I'm here to tell you that sometimes it'll get silent. Silence is okay. Silence half the time means that you're processing information because the brain can only handle so much. It's got to be able to process. So you've got to allow the brain to listen, especially when you're talking, asking questions, and or you're sharing your story and they get quiet. They could be processing it to then ask you a question. And then learning to exit. It's like, oh, it was such a pleasure to chat with you. I am going to go talk to so and so, Susie over here. I'm going to go talk to Susie. If worse comes to worse, I love, there's two things that I do. I do a lot of networking, and I have a tendency to find people who love to talk about themselves, and that it's not a two-way, it's a one-way, and it's a puke fest. And those are tough. And so you ask the right questions, but they never stop. They never stop. I've dealt with them. If you deal with them, here's two things you can do. I say, usually I'll like, excuse me, because they won't let you get a word in edgewise. Excuse me, I need to hit the restroom. Thank you so much. Let's continue this conversation in a minute, okay? But I need to hit the restroom. So I use the restroom as an excuse. It works great at family, networking, whatever. I love doing it. In fact, there was one party. So I was at this party. My husband was with me, and there was one woman who just refused to stop talking. Refused to stop talking, and not just to me, to everybody, but for some reason that particular night she was following me everywhere. So she probably thinks I have a bladder issue because I can't tell her how many times I had to stop to go, I've got to use the restroom, right? Or I had to stop to do something else. So um it worked. Eventually it worked. I had to exit and I changed rooms, um which was funny. The number two way to kind of end a conversation, and I use this more networking, I don't use this at family because I don't think it's polite to have your phone with family, but I will do this so you can't see my phone, and I'll be like, oh, this is family. I got to take it. Excuse me. And I will walk away, um, you know, pretending to text or pretending to call. Yes, it's a lie. It's a strategic lie. Um, but they don't know it. And it works. Okay, this isn't my original idea, but I've used it for over a decade, close to 2 now, and I'm telling you, it is a great way. So when I'm networking, I always have my phone either in my pocket or somewhere around me really, really close because I also collect, information, contact information on the phone. I will text people right then and there, which is another great tip for communicating when you're networking is just say, "What's your cell? I'm gonna text you right now and get it done right now while you're thinking about it." But to have it there and go, "Oh, oh, I'm sorry, please forgive me." And I always say, "Please forgive me," right? "Excuse me, please forgive me. I need to take this. I only do it for family. I got to take this. So I don't know what's going on." And then I'll go off in a corner and whatever, and then recirculate the room and come out on another end and start a conversation with somebody else. So those are the tools that I can think of as of right now. There's so much more, which I'll probably do another episode on this too. Just so, it's not that hard to navigate conversations and to get people talking because once you start asking the questions and getting people to talk, you're going to find a common topic that you're both going to be passionate about. And when you can do that, you truly bond with that person. Because you've heard this quote many, many times, is it's not what you say, but it's how you make them feel. Okay, so when you can bond over a topic, so sharing information, asking, pulling questions, right? Pulling questions, pulling information out of them, and then finding a common topic that you can go in on. That's authentic to you. You're going to end up bonding. And then it's going to be that you're going to be that person. They're going to remember you for how you made them feel for that conversation. Now, whether it was travel or family or whatever it was, whatever your genius, whatever story resonates with them, and then they resonated with you. So finding that, that's so powerful. So I hope that was super, super helpful. Um, and that write these down, put them on your phone, like and so when you walk into your family gathering, when you walk into a networking, when you walk into some social conversation, when you are expected to converse, look at those questions right before and have them in your brain going, okay, these are the things that I can ask, and know that those are the tools in your toolbox. Does that make sense? So I hope that was good for you. So it is a wrap for today's Breaking Bad Communication podcast. I hope you found something here, something that was juicy enough. If you please subscribe. And if there's something that I said that somebody that's an introvert or that could use help on this, please feel free to share. As you head back out into the world, remember every conversation is your chance to shape your lives and the lives of others. Whether it's a tough talk or casual chat, be clear, intentional, and listen like it matters because it really does. The better you communicate, the more your life aligns with what you truly want. So go out there, own your voice, and make your words work for you. Giddy up.